Hello everybody, it's your boy the Punk with Taku Stripe, back again with another review for Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This time, we're looking at episodes 3 and 4. We're nearing the halfway point now, and things are really starting to ramp up, both on the human story side, and a little bit on the kaiju side. In my last video, where I reviewed the first two episodes, I did lament that I didn't feel Wyatt Russell's performance was very good, that it didn't really grab me. And when I saw older Lee Shaw, I felt, okay, it's definitive. Wyatt Russell has no idea what he's doing, and the two performances just aren't meshing. But, older Lee Shaw only showed up for the second half of the second episode. Heck, even just near the end, really. So, when episode 3 came around, I said to myself, okay, let's give it another shot. Let's see what happens. And in these next two episodes, episodes 3 and 4, we do spend a lot more time with older Lee Shaw. And I can now comfortably say, again, now definitively, these just don't feel like the same character. Now, at the end of episode 2, the present timeline characters meet up with older Lee Shaw in this commune that's being monitored by Monarch. At the beginning of episode 3, they continue this encounter, and they have to plan to help him escape so he can help them on this mystery that they're trying to solve. When they are escaping, they get a hold of this car that Lee Shaw starts driving, but he's having a hard time getting started. And when he finally does get it started, he gives a real nice hoo-ah!
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 Frankly, young Lee Shaw doesn't have that much personality. Look, I know I'm going on and on about Wyatt Russell in these reviews, but I don't know. I feel like a high expectation was set when they decided to do the character of Lee Shaw this way. For me, it was, at least. And it's just not what I expected. And maybe I'm expecting too much. I thoroughly, am willing to accept that. And it's not like I dislike Wyatt Russell or anything. Honestly, I've only ever seen him in one other thing, and that was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he played U.S. Patriot. And I quite liked him in that. And quite honestly, how much can I really blame the guy? Imagine you're acting opposite a legendary action star, but not only are you acting opposite them, you're playing the same character as them. And then on top of that, that action star is your dad. So there's a lot of pressure there. I can really see that. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe the pressure is just getting to him. Maybe he's trying to really deliver what his dad is setting for him. But overall, what they got going on, the two performances just aren't portraying the same character for me. I'm just not seeing it. But I mean, that's really a nitpick in the long run. It's not ruining the series for me or anything. Speaking of young Lee Shaw, what's the 1950s crew up to? Well, after encountering the Ion Dragon, they theorize that other creatures like it exist. And who do they discover may exist? Well, the G-Man himself, when they discover a footprint in the ground, a giant footprint at that. They get the help through Lee Shaw, through the American military, to draw out Godzilla with a huge heaping of uranium for the radiation to draw out the creature, because they theorize that these creatures feed on it, or at least they feel Godzilla does. And then we get the scene that is from the opening of the 2014 Godzilla. Now, I'm not here to wax poetic about which version of this scene is actually canon to the Monsterverse. Frankly, I have not yet read the prequel comics. I just haven't gotten around to it. So if you want more knowledge on the topic, if you want to hear someone talk about what could be canon to the Monsterverse in terms of this scene, check out the OmniViews video on the topic. He'll be able to tell you a lot more than I can. This scene feels kind of cruel because Godzilla in it is portrayed as, this creature that is just a lot more innocent, a lot happier than what we see him as later on, what we know him to become later on. He approaches the bomb and he just gives it just like this smile. He's excited to see it before, what happens eventually happens. Now, we know what happens to him afterwards, but it's still kind of cruel. He's just like a goofy little guy that is happy just to get a snack. And then the snack, or so they think it is just a weapon to be used against him.
He shouldn't have done that. He's just a boy. Poor little feller.
After that scene, it seems as if we've seen the last of the 1950s crew, at least for now, because the rest of episode 3 and the entirety of episode 4 completely focuses on the present timeline crew. And that is where things get really interesting. What this show has been doing best so far is showing us that in a kaiju franchise, the humans can be really compelling. And in this part of the season, it's really showing what it can do with its human writing. After the 1950s Godzilla scene, we follow the present timeline characters to meet up with an old friend of Lee Shaw's to get a plane to go to Alaska, where Kate and Kintaro's father allegedly died, but ultimately went missing. You could say that's where his trail went cold. You could say that's where his trail went cold. Because it was in Alaska. After they get there, they encounter a kaiju that destroys the plane, leaving them stranded in these mountains. Which, I just want to say very quickly, this monster is so interesting. Not only in its design, it's very unique looking, but also in its power. It absorbs heat from a source to nourish itself, and it freezes whatever it's sucking the heat from, or, extinguishes it. It was so cool, and this power of his kaijus would become a problem in episode 4. After a rather thrilling kaiju chase scene, Kintaro unceremoniously splits off from the group after a disagreement of where and how to find help. And it's here that the episode becomes this race against the clock bid for survival. We bounce back between Lee Shaw with Kate and May, and Kintaro on his own. And it's here that we really get to know Kintaro. Up until this point, we haven't really seen how the disappearance/death of he and Kate's father has affected him. We've seen how it affects Kate, but not him. And in these hallucination flashbacks, we see that, and you really feel for him. We also see his struggles with his professional life. We see that he and May had a relationship at one point. It really showed. This show is really showing that the characters in a kaiju franchise can have a lot going on. And this had me glued to the screen the entire time. I really love this show's human writing. I'm starting to see that eventually I'm probably going to eat my words when it comes to this show. Because of course, leading up to it, as you all know, I wasn't very excited about it. I thought it'd be pointless. I didn't think we needed it. But I've been enjoying it more and more each episode. Especially this last episode, episode 4, I really loved it. Its writing was so compelling. And, if it continues on this trajectory, by the end of it, I'll be willing to say that I was wrong. So, those are my thoughts on these last 2 episodes of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. What have you been thinking about this series so far? Let me know down in the comments. But I'm going to end the video here because there's another piece of kaiju media that happened over this last weekend that needs my attention. I've been the Punk Otaku Scribe, and I'll see you in that one.